Hi, my name is Jacob Danell and this is my new script, Tiny Tools. It's a script containing 13 small scripts. You can launch it as floating from File, Scripts, Tiny Tools. Or, if you want to dock it, you go to Window and pick Tiny Tools. Here you can see all 13 scripts, and if you hover them, you see what they do and some special commands that they can do. In the end, you have settings. Here you can see the information also, but some certain scripts, like Color Matcher, have some extra settings that you can change here. Like print screen, you can pick the location where to put your print screen. In the settings, you can also select what scripts to show or hide in the toolbar. So let's say that you don't want to have Mask Nudge, Expression, Toggle, Calc, Print Screen, Reset Time Span, and Name Exchange. So simply deselect these and you'll see that your toolbar is much smaller now. If you want to go back, you simply go to Settings and reselect the ones you want to show. The toolbar itself is fully dynamic, so if you make it smaller, you'll still see all the scripts. So this is really handy if you dock it, for example, in a smaller space. Calc is a small calculator, but it doesn't look like a normal calculator does. As you can see, it has two fields, and in the first field you write the calculation you want. So let's say 5 plus 5 equals 10. But what's special about this calculator is that you can use words. So let's say that the text width equals 150 pixels. We want this text 3 times with a margin of 5. So margin equals 5 pixels. So now we can write text width times 3 plus margin times 2. And we know we need 406 pixels. On the top you see a small slider. This changes the size of the two fields. So if this would be a very long word, you see it goes to the next row. And if you resize, maybe you don't want this field to be so big. So this slider lets you change the field's size. Calc saves your calculation, so the next time you launch, you still have your old calculation. If you want to clear it, you can either select everything and simply remove it, or you can press clear. Clear cache lets you, as the name says, clear your cache quick and easily. Instead of having to go to Edit, Purge, All Memory and Disk Cache, All Memory, and Image Cache Memory, you simply press the broom or Clear Cache. It asks you if you want to delete all the cache, and you press OK, and the cache is cleared. This is very handy if you, for example, use particulars that don't always work too well with After Effects caching system. So I often tend to clear the cache to make sure that I really see the correct image. Color Matcher lets you match colors from one image to another. Color Matcher, you make everything much quicker and easier, and also has some special features. Color Matcher uses a pseudo effect that I recommend that you install. The first time you run Color Matcher, it will ask you if you want to install it. After you have installed it, you need to restart After Effects. If you press no, Color Matcher won't ask you anymore, so the next time you have to go to Settings, Color Matcher, and install pseudo effect. If you don't install pseudo effect, Color Matcher still works, but you simply get the settings from highlight, from shadows, and to highlight and to shadows. If you install the pseudo effect, you will get more options that I will show soon. So here we have two images, one blue, nice colored, and a more dull image. So you start by selecting the image you want to change the color on, and press Color Matcher. From here, you select From Highlights. The from is from the image you want to take the color. So here, black is pretty black and white is pretty white. So I'm gonna pick something a little bit darker in the luminance than the most light highlight and the most dark shadows to really get the color of this image. So I pick this snow, and for the shadows, I go in here and pick this area. Now, to our other image, we need to find an area with the same luminosity. So if we go back and hover where we picked the highlight, we can see in the info panel that this is around 200, 210, and 250. So here it's a little bit too high, so we go a little bit darker, maybe around here, 250 around. So we take the highlight, pick this color, and for the dark, we go in here. And as you can see, it's pretty noisy, but if you hold down Control, you pick a bigger area of color. There. So now, when I picked my colors, I can enable the levels. And as you can see, it's pretty good matched. Not perfect, but pretty good. So now I have the levels that I can still change the settings for, so I can change the gamma to make it more matched. So something around there. Color Matcher is expression driven, so if you have a lot of expressions, your project can start to run slow. So the best thing is to bake the expressions. To do this, simply have your color matched layer selected and press Color Matcher again. This time it will ask you if you want to bake the color correction with keyframes or a simple bake. I'm using the color pickers, so I want a simple bake and not keyframe every single frame. So I pick no, and all the expressions and effects are gone except the level. Color Matcher is also great to color match objects that change colors over time. So here I have a short footage of Porter Robinson's languages, and let's say I want to put a tree up here. So I have a small nice tree here that I can scale and put where I want it. And I have also tracked a certain point where the color changes a lot over time. So I simply take my tree, I parent it to the null, and then I have the same layer with an extract on to make it go behind. So now the tree moves nicely in the picture, but it doesn't look good at all. Of course, it's not color matched. So I select my tree and pick Color Matcher. It works even though I have effects already applied on it. But this time, instead of picking the from and to values, I will go to point controllers. And what point controllers let you do is pick any point in the image and feed that color into the from or to values. The from layer is the PRL background layer, it's the movie itself. The next option is post effects. This is if you have effects applied, like a hue and saturation, you want to use post effect, so Color Matcher includes those effects when getting the color. The search area is how many pixels Color Matcher will check the colors for. So if it's a pretty noisy footage, you want to increase this search area to exclude as much noise as possible. So a good starting point is 1 pixel, and then you check from there. In this footage, it's the shadows that changes the most. So I will pick the from shadow point and select my motion null. And as you can see here, from shadows get the color that's under this null. And the tree, I simply pick the 2 shadows and select a part of the tree. And when I enable the level, the tree is color matched. But when I play back now, you'll see that it changes its color together as all the other objects in the image. So without doing anything, this tree is color matched. Of course, it needs some blur to make it go better with the footage, and maybe some noise and so on, but most of the hard work is already done. But let's say you want to bake this also, so you select the tree and press Color Matcher. But this time we want to bake it with keyframes. So we press yes, and it says baking done. And all Color Matcher effects are gone and the level is left. But if we go and check the keyframes, we can see that all the level settings have keyframes and the tree is still color matched. One thing to think about though is how the script works behind the scenes. The way it works is it takes the from highlight color So let's pick blue, just to show now, and drags the to color to the from color. So if we pick something greenish in this image, it will take this color and pull it to this blue. So if we activate the level, you can see everything got very, very blue. Express Ion is a script that lets you quickly turn expressions on or off. So to do this, you select a property with an expression and press the Expression Ion button. The expression is now disabled. If a layer has many expressions inside of it, you can select the layer itself, and Expression Ion will enable or disable all expressions inside. If one expression is disabled and the other is not, Expression Ion will first enable the expression and then disable all the expressions again. You can select many layers and disable all the expressions, or enable all the expressions. If an expression is disabled, Express Ion will ignore that expression and only toggle the ones that's already enabled or having the Express Ion tag. Expression Ion is also good if you have linked expressions. You accidentally delete a layer, put it back, but the expression is broken. You don't know where it is, but Express Ion will fix it. So you have the layer selected, but this time you hold down Shift. This will turn on or off all the expressions, even if they were turned off before. So by holding down Shift, I press the Express Ion, and the expression is back on. If you have expressions anywhere in comp you want to enable or accidentally broke them, you hold down Control while pressing the Express Ion button. This will look through all the comps and enable and disable all the expressions. And if you hold down Shift and Control at the same time, Express Ion will turn on or off all the expressions everywhere. If you have an expression-heavy composition, your composition can become very, very slow sometimes to work in. This is where Expression Baker comes very handy. You can select any property with expression, Expression Baker, and it will bake that expression into keyframes. It still keeps the expression, but turned off, so you can always go back to your expression. Expression Baker also works with layers with a lot of expressions inside of it, so by only having the layer selected and pressing Expression Baker will bake all expressions inside that layer. You can also, of course, have any amount of layers selected when applying Expression Baker. And all expressions have been baked. Link lets you link any property to any property. You can think it a little bit like parenting, but instead of going around the parent's values, it just takes the values and apply it to itself. So a simple one is to select all the layers and one property. If you do this, the script will take that property from all the layers. So with this selected, I press the link button, and then deselect everything and hold down Control and press the link button again. This will create a link controller. So if I go to the rotate of the controller, you can see all the shapes rotating around their own axis. So if you change the anchor point, it rotates around that anchor point. You can also link properties to other already existing properties. So if I select these rotations, press link, and then select a layer or a property, and hold down Control and press link, those properties will be linked to the property of your selected layer. So now they all rotate together. But even though objects are linked, they still have their own value. But I can also, for example, take the rotation of the middle shape, press link and put it in the position while holding down Control and press link. The rotation that's one value option will be linked to the first value of the selected property. So for this example, the X property. So if I change the X angle, you can see that the linked property is moving. I can also take, like a mask, take its feathering and link it to the position. So when I move the position, it will feather more. And because the feather is a two-value option, I can move both the X direction and the Y direction to change the feathering. So if I move it around, you can see it feathers all over the place. Another good use of link is, for example, when you have tracking points and want to use puppet tools. So here I have some footage from hollywoodcamerawork.com, and I have tracked these 3 tracking points. And I also have a layer that has a wound. So for this, I simply pick the puppet pin tool and press where the nulls are. And when you're done, you go to the puppet effect, go to your mesh, deform, and there you have your puppet pins. A good thing to know about effects like the puppet tool is that it has dynamic properties. With that I mean that if I add more puppet pins, you will get more properties. And link doesn't go well with that if it creates the effect you want to link. For example, for this I can add a fast blur, and I want to control the blurriness. So I select the blurriness, press link, deselect everything, hold down Control and press link again. As you can see, the controller null got this blur effect, and the fast blur of the wound is linked to that blur. When I change the blur on the controller, the blur on the blood blurs. But if I try to do this with a puppet pin, I press link, go to the controller, hold down Control and press link. I will get an error, because link can't link the properties that don't exist by default. So I select the transformation of the puppet pin 3, press link, go up to the position of the first null, hold down Control and press link. And then do the same thing with the other puppet pins. And now all the puppet pins are linked to the nulls. So when I move the clip, you'll see that the blood is stuck on the face and changes its position based on the nulls. This have been the basics of link, but the most powerful part is expression linking. To do this, you do like before. You select your wanted properties, press link, but this time you hold down Alt instead of Control. You get a controller, but you also see you get a checkbox effect with the name Tiny Tools. It's important that this effect is always on the top of the effects panel, because what happens is that these 3 properties will now read this name and read it as expressions. Right now, there is no expression in the name. Right now, there is no expression after the name Tiny Tools, and it's a little bit hard to write a very long expression in the name. So by having the controller selected or properties that is linked to an expression controller, you hold down Alt and Shift and press the link button. This will show the link editor. Here you can see your old expressions that you might have had on your properties and the link expression. Here you can also see the selected layers and controllers you had selected when you opened the linked editor. You see the path to the property with the linking and to what layer or controller the link is linked to. And down here you see if you get any errors on your expressions. So here, for example, I can write in the link expression wiggle, and as you can see it goes a little bit slow when I write, and that's because auto apply is on. It's a pretty nice feature if you have patience or only want to change one thing, but you can also deselect it and write everything as you want. You can try the code to see if you get any errors, or you can directly apply the code. So if you press apply code, you could see that the shape layers shifted, and when I play now, they all wiggle. But they don't wiggle exactly the same, and that's because the link reads the expression controller's name, and it has the expression wiggle 1000, and it will apply that expression to every individual property. So if you want to calm the wiggle down, we can change it to 2, apply code, and they all wiggle a little bit slower. We can make them wiggle longer. You also have the old expression. So let's say we want shape layer 3 to wiggle really fast but short at the same time as it wiggles slow and long. So I write the wiggle 2020 in the old expression, press apply code, and you can now see that it wiggles really quick at the same time as it wiggles slow. So with this way you can apply 2 expressions to a property at the same time. We can also pick a property. So if we take the rotation of shape layer 2, press pick, we get that property's values. So we take plus value to still keep the original value and press apply code. So when I rotate the second layer, the shape layer 3 changes its X position. But at the same time, it wiggles. So if we take this time 60, it will wiggle out of the image eventually. If you decide that you wrote something wrong or you don't want to apply your changes, you simply press cancel and everything is back to normal. Mask Nudger lets you nudge the mask or the image below the mask without moving the mask itself. To show this, I have another scene from Porter Robinson's Languages, but like you can see if I remove the background, the mask for this creature is not correct. Maybe it was moved during the rendering or something happened and you need to move the mask. So to do this, you simply select the mask itself and press the Mask Nudge button. As you can see, nothing happened, but by having Mask Nudger pressed, you can now use your keys to move the mask. It moves 1 pixel at a time, but if you hold down the Shift key, it moves 10 pixels. So now I can move the mask to the correct position, and the mask is now correct. Mask Nudger works with the keyframed masks without any problems. But let's say that both the masks are a bit off, but we don't want to move the mask but the image itself. So by having the layer itself selected, I press the Mask Nudge, and this time hold down Ctrl and Shift to move 10 pixels at a time. You can see I move the image instead. So when I'm happy, I can check and everything is correct. But if I hold down Ctrl while moving the mask, I will move everything except that mask. So if I have the mask selected, I press the Mask Nudge and hold down Shift and move. You can see it moves like normal. But if I hold down the Ctrl, everything else moves except that mask. And it works the same if I have other masks. So I made a copy of this and have Girl and Girl 2 selected, press Mask Nudge, and now they are moving together, and if I hold down Ctrl, everything except those 2 masks are moving. Name exchange is a small script that helps you exchange the name from the layer name and the source name. So one good example is if you have a solid layer as a background named background, it can be nice to have the same file with the same name in the project panel. So by having the layer selected, you simply press the name exchange button, and the source of that object will get the object's name. So now it's named background. This also works the other way around. So if I want this layer to be named solid layer 5, I simply press the name exchange button again, but this time hold down Ctrl, and it's now named solid layer 5. I can also use name exchange to find the file. So if I have no idea where it is, I can hold down Alt and press name exchange, and the script will show me the source in the project panel. Print screen lets you take a print screen of your current image. It takes the resolution and quality of the quality you have selected in your viewer. So if you have a quarter selected, you will get this quality of the print screen. So by having it on full, you press print screen and you're done. By default, it saves the image with the composition's name and the frame number. As you also can see, the alpha is brought into the image. If you want to change the location where to save the print screens, you can hold down Ctrl while pressing the print screen button, select a new destination and press OK. Or go into the settings, go to print screen and press set location. You can also see by hovering over the print screen button where your current location is at. Reset time span lets you reset the time span of your current rendering comp. So here I have a comp with a fractal noise, and I put it in my render queue, and I press render. But let's say I want to change something. I see while it's rendering, something is wrong. So I press stop. I go back and change what I want to change. So maybe I want it to be dynamic instead. And if I go back to the render queue, you'll see I have a copy of my rendering object. And if I go down to the render settings, you can see that the start point starts where I ended. So if I go to the first rendering, you see it starts at 0. But my new object doesn't start at 0. So if I had a lot of customizations in the output module or the rendering settings, I have to put this layer once again in the render queue and change them all. But what reset timespan simply does is reset the timespan of all objects in the render queue. So when I press the reset timespan button, you can see everything get reset. So I queue the object and press render, and it will render from the beginning again. Script Launcher is a very small and handy script launcher. You launch it by pressing the Script Launcher button. You will get this UI with a list of all your scripts, and on the top a search bar that's selected for you when you start. Here you can search for anything you want, so let's say copy, and I have rd_copy markers. And I launch it by simply pressing enter. Now I didn't have 2 layers selected, so I got this error, but that's from rd copy markers. You can select where you want Script Launcher to look for scripts. If you have scripts in many different places. To change the locations, you press the question mark. Here you can either pick where you want Script Launcher to look for scripts, or add more places. So let's say I pick RD's scripts folder that I have on my desktop. And I press OK, and you see that I get duplicates. And that's because I have the RD files in my window that you also see I have picked here. So I don't want the script to look in this path. So I can simply press remove and OK. And my list is back to normal. If you put new scripts in the folder, you can either relaunch Script Launcher and the list will be updated, or press this small reload button. If you launch a script that does exist in the Windows menu, Script Launcher will launch it dockable. So if we open up Divi Up, you'll see that it's dockable. If you don't want to launch it dockable, you simply hold down Ctrl and you will get the script floating. It's very nice to launch script dockable, but you might have a lot of scripts in other places. So I have created a small tool inside of Script Launcher. So far it only works on Windows, but I'm working to make it work on Mac also. And that's the shortcut generator. When you open shortcut generator, you'll see place shortcuts in, and the script UI panels folder is already written in. And after that you have create shortcuts from. Here I selected RD's scripts folder, pressed OK, and press go. You can also pick to search in subfolders. Because there is no scripts in any subfolders, I will skip this for now. So I press go, and the command prompt will open for you. And now if you go to the scripts UI panel, you'll see you have all the scripts as shortcuts. And the next time you launch After Effects, you will have all these scripts in your window panel, and that makes them dockable, even though they are not in the script UI folder. So if I once again open up Divi Up, it's dockable. Search and replace expressions lets you search and replace expressions. Here I have 3 shapes layers with expressions pointing to controller 1's position. So these 3 shape layers will move together with controller 1's position. So they go up and down. But let's say I want the expressions to point to C2's positions instead. So instead of going down all these properties to change the expressions, I can simply go to search and replace expressions. And here I get a small dialog with what I want to search and what I want to replace. So I will search for controller 1 and replace it with C2. Here I can pick to search and replace everywhere, that's in all comps in the whole project. I can pick this comp, it's the comp that I'm currently viewing, or the selected layers and selected properties. So let's say I want to change these 2 only. So I have them selected, press select, and now the expression text have changed everywhere it says controller 1 to C2. And these two shape layers positions is now expressioned to C2's position. If I want to move back quickly, I can press this small button to simply flip the names, and then I pick selected, and they are back to normal. And if I change back, have nothing selected, and pressing this comp, all the expression with the text controller 1 is replaced with C2, and now all three shape layers are changed to C2. Toggle lets you toggle properties or modes of selected layers. So here I have two layers with fractal noise applied. One is above the other. So by having fractal 2 selected, I can press the toggle button and you can see that the mode is changing. So you can quick and easily try to find the mode you're looking for. If you hold down Control, you go backwards in your toggle. You can also do this for properties. So let's say the position. If I press the toggle, you can see that the X value is changing. If I hold down Control, it moves down. But if I want to change the Y value, I hold down the Shift key instead. And holding down Control and Shift decreases the value. And if it's a 3D object with 3 values, I hold down Alt to change the third value. And holding down Alt and Control decreases the third value. There's also an easier way that instead of spamming your mouse, you simply press once, and that lets you use your keyboard instead to easily and quicker move up and down, left and right. It also works with all kinds of properties. So if I go to the fractal effect itself, I can select fractal type and press toggle to toggle between the different kind of fractal types. This works with any property that can be keyframed, so noise type, no problem. Overflow works the same. And that's all the scripts for Tiny Tools. If you ever want information about the scripts, simply hover the scripts you want the information on, or go to the settings, press the script you want to know more about, or contact me on aescripts.com. Thank you.